Imagine waking up exactly 1 year from today. You look in the mirror and see a completely different version of yourself. You're healthier, more disciplined, more confident. You finally wake up on time. You work on your goals consistently. You stop procrastinating. You have more money saved. You read more books. And for the first time in years, you actually feel proud of the person you're becoming. Now imagine the opposite. 1 year passes, and nothing changes. You're still making the same excuses. Still waiting for motivation. Still promising yourself that you'll start tomorrow. The scary part is that most people don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they underestimate the power of small daily actions. They think success comes from one big decision. One big opportunity. One big breakthrough. But according to James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, real transformation doesn't happen in a single moment. It happens through tiny actions repeated every single day. A habit may seem insignificant today. But over months and years, it can completely change the direction of your life. In this video, you'll discover 7 powerful lessons from Atomic Habits that have helped millions of people improve their lives. And make sure you stay until the end. Because lesson number 7 is the lesson that ties everything together. It's also the reason why some people achieve extraordinary success while others give up too early. Let's begin. Lesson number 1. Small improvements create massive results. Most people want dramatic change. They want instant success. Instant confidence. Instant results. But life rarely works that way. Imagine 2 airplanes leaving the same airport. One plane changes its direction by only a few degrees. At first, the difference is almost impossible to notice. But after hundreds or thousands of miles, those planes end up in completely different destinations. The same thing happens in your life. Small habits may seem unimportant today. Reading 10 pages. Saving $5. Walking for 15 minutes. Studying for 20 minutes. None of these actions look life-changing. But when repeated consistently, they create extraordinary results. James Clear explains that habits are like compound interest. Just as money grows over time when invested consistently, your habits grow over time as well. Good habits compound. Bad habits compound too. Every day you are either moving closer to the person you want to become, or further away. The direction matters more than the speed. Think about it. A person who improves by just 1% every day doesn't seem impressive. But after a year, that person becomes dramatically better than when they started. Meanwhile, someone who becomes just 1% worse every day slowly moves backward without even realizing it. Success is rarely the result of one massive action. It's usually the result of hundreds of small decisions made consistently. So stop looking for overnight transformation. Focus on becoming slightly better today than you were yesterday. That single mindset shift can change everything. And here's what's interesting. Even if you understand the importance of small habits, you can still fail. Why? Because most people focus on the wrong thing. Which brings us to lesson number 2. Lesson number 2. Focus on systems, not goals. Everyone has goals. Students want better grades. Entrepreneurs want successful businesses. Athletes want championships. Creators want millions of subscribers. Goals are important. But goals alone don't create success. Systems do. A goal tells you where you want to go. A system tells you how you'll get there. For example, many people say, I want to lose 20 pounds. That's a goal. But a goal without a system is only a wish. A system would be walking every morning, eating healthier meals, tracking daily calories, sleeping enough every night. The truth is, winners and losers often have the same goals. Every team wants to win. Every student wants good grades. Every entrepreneur wants success. What separates successful people isn't the goal. It's the system they follow every day. James Clear says something incredibly powerful. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Think about that for a moment. Most people spend years setting goals. Very few spend time building systems. And that's why they keep starting over. Every January they make new resolutions. Every February they quit. If you want different results, stop obsessing over goals. Start designing better daily systems. Because systems create consistency. And consistency creates success. But even the best system can fail if you're trying to become someone you're not. That's why lesson number 3 may be the most powerful idea in the entire book. Lesson number 3. Your habits shape your identity. Most people approach change backward. They focus on outcomes. They focus on achievements. They focus on results. But James Clear argues that lasting change starts with identity. Not what you want to achieve, but who you want to become. Imagine two people are offered a cigarette. The first person says, "No thanks. I'm trying to quit." The second person says, "No thanks. I'm not a smoker." Both refuse. But their identities are completely different. One person is fighting a habit. The other person has changed their identity. Real change becomes easier when your habits align with the type of person you believe you are. Every action you take becomes a vote. A vote for the person you're becoming. When you read a book, you're casting a vote for becoming a reader. When you exercise, you're casting a vote for becoming a healthy person. When you save money, you're casting a vote for becoming financially responsible. You don't need perfection. You don't need hundreds of votes immediately. You simply need enough votes to reinforce your new identity. The goal isn't to run a marathon tomorrow. The goal is to become the type of person who never skips movement. The goal isn't to become rich overnight. The goal is to become the type of person who manages money wisely. Your habits don't just create results. They create the person you become. And once your identity changes, everything else becomes easier. Now here's the surprising part. Most people know what habits they should build. Yet they still fail to stick with them. Why? Because they're making one critical mistake. And in the next lesson, you'll discover how to make good habits almost impossible to resist. Lesson number 4. Make good habits easy. This lesson alone can dramatically increase your chances of success. Most people believe that successful people have more motivation, more discipline, more willpower. But that's not usually true. The real difference is that successful people make good habits easier to perform. Think about it. Have you ever planned to read a book, but ended up scrolling social media instead? Have you ever planned to exercise, but stayed on the couch? It's not because you're weak. It's because the easier option usually wins. Human beings naturally choose the path of least resistance. James Clear calls this the law of least effort. We tend to do what requires the least amount of energy. So instead of trying to force yourself to work harder, make good habits easier. Want to read more books? Keep a book on your pillow. Want to drink more water? Keep a water bottle on your desk. Want to exercise regularly? Lay out your workout clothes the night before. Want to study consistently? Prepare your study space before you go to sleep. These tiny adjustments may seem insignificant, but they remove friction, and friction is often the reason habits fail. The easier something becomes, the more likely you are to do it. Many people wait until they feel motivated. Successful people design their environment so that action becomes automatic. Imagine walking into your room and seeing your book ready. Your notebook open. Your goals visible. Your distractions removed. Suddenly discipline becomes much easier. Don't rely on motivation. Design your environment for success. Because every habit becomes stronger when it becomes easier to start. But making good habits easy is only half the equation. What about the habits that are holding you back? The endless scrolling. The procrastination. The distractions. That's where lesson number 5 changes everything. Lesson number 5. Make bad habits difficult. Most people try to break bad habits using willpower alone. And that's exactly why they fail. Willpower is limited. Environment is powerful. Let's say you want to reduce screen time. But your phone is always in your hand. Notifications are constantly appearing. Social media apps are one tap away. You're making distraction easy. And then wondering why you're distracted. Instead of trying harder, make bad habits harder. If social media wastes your time, log out after every session. Delete unnecessary apps. Turn off notifications. Place your phone in another room while working. If junk food is your weakness, stop keeping it in your house. If television distracts you, remove the remote from easy reach. Create obstacles. Create friction. Create inconvenience. The goal is not to make bad habits impossible. The goal is to make them less convenient. Every additional step decreases the likelihood of repeating the behavior. James Clear explains that environment often beats motivation. And once you understand that, you stop blaming yourself. Instead of asking, "Why am I so undisciplined?" ask, "Why have I designed my environment to encourage failure?" Success often comes from removing temptations before they become decisions. Because the easiest choice usually becomes the default choice. Design your environment carefully. Because your environment quietly shapes your future every single day. Now we've learned how to make good habits easier. And bad habits harder. But what happens when life gets messy? What happens when you miss a workout? Skip a study session? Break a streak you've worked hard to build? Most people quit. But the next lesson explains why successful people recover faster. Lesson number 6. Never miss twice. This may be the most comforting lesson in the entire book. Because no matter how motivated you are, you will make mistakes. Everyone does. You'll miss workouts. You'll procrastinate. You'll skip reading. You'll have bad days. The problem isn't failing once. The problem is allowing one mistake to become a pattern. Many people miss one day and think, "I've already failed." Then one missed day becomes a week. A week becomes a month. And eventually they quit completely. James Clear teaches a simple rule: never miss twice. If you miss one workout, exercise the next day. If you skip one study session, study tomorrow. If you eat unhealthy once, make your next meal healthy. One mistake is an event. 2 mistakes can become the beginning of a new habit. The people who succeed aren't perfect. They simply recover faster. They don't spend time feeling guilty. They don't spend time criticizing themselves. They get back on track immediately. Consistency isn't about never failing. It's about returning quickly after failure. Think about a plane flying across the ocean. It's off course most of the time. But it constantly corrects itself. And eventually reaches its destination. Your life works the same way. You don't need perfection. You need correction. Again. And again. And again. Progress is built by getting back on track faster than everyone else. We've covered 6 powerful lessons. But the final lesson is the one that separates people who quit after a few weeks from people who completely transform their lives. It's the lesson that explains why results often take longer than expected. And why most people give up right before success arrives. Let's talk about lesson number 7. Lesson number 7. Be patient with the process. This is the lesson that most people ignore. And it's also the reason why most people never experience the full power of good habits. We live in a world that wants instant results. Instant success. Instant money. Instant transformation. But habits don't work that way. Imagine planting a seed in the ground. For days, and even weeks, it looks like nothing is happening. You water it. You take care of it. You stay consistent. But above the surface, you see no results. Then one day, the seed breaks through the soil, and suddenly growth becomes visible. Good habits work exactly the same way. For a long time, your efforts seem invisible. You study but don't see improvement. You exercise but don't see major changes. You save money but don't feel wealthy. You read books but don't feel smarter. And that's usually the moment when most people quit. But what they don't realize is that progress is happening beneath the surface. Every repetition is building a stronger foundation. Every small action is preparing future results. The breakthrough often comes much later than expected. The people who succeed are not always the most talented. They're often the people who stayed consistent long enough to see the results of their efforts. So trust the process. Stay patient. Keep showing up. Because today's habits are creating tomorrow's life. Let's quickly recap the 7 lessons from Atomic Habits. Small improvements create massive results. Focus on systems, not goals. Your habits shape your identity. Make good habits easy. Make bad habits difficult. Be patient with the process. Imagine where your life could be 1 year from now if you applied just one of these lessons consistently. Not perfectly. Just consistently. That single decision could completely change your future. If you found these lessons valuable, I highly recommend reading Atomic Habits by James Clear. Honestly, this video only scratches the surface. The book goes much deeper into how habits are formed, why they stick, and how you can use them to improve every area of your life. You'll find the link to the book in the description below. If you're serious about personal growth, it's one of the best investments you can make in yourself. If you enjoyed this video and want more powerful lessons from best-selling books, make sure to subscribe to 7 Lessons. Every week, we break down the world's most impactful books into practical lessons you can apply immediately. And before you go, tell me in the comments, which of these 7 lessons are you going to apply first? Thank you for watching. Keep learning. Keep growing. And I'll see you in the next lesson.